20 years. 20 seasons. And the one question CBC still refuses to answer might be the one that breaks your heart the most. Because deep inside the new footage coming out of Alberta, there is a detail almost nobody is talking about, and once you see it, Heartland will never feel the same again. Something is happening on that ranch in Alberta right now, and if you love this family the way millions of us do, you need to sit with this for a second. After nearly 2 decades of heartbreak, healing, and horses that somehow understand us better than people do, Heartland is officially coming back for a 20th season, and the show's own Instagram page said something that stopped fans cold. "The wait is over," they wrote. "Production is already underway in the heart of Alberta." And then came the line that hit different: 20 seasons, that's 20 years of a family that has felt like our own. Thank you for never letting go of Heartland. Read that again. Because that is not a marketing caption. That is a goodbye disguised as a thank you. And the timing of it could not feel more loaded. Filming is confirmed to be happening in Calgary, with cameras rolling between May and the end of August, which means right now, as you are watching this, the cast is standing in those same fields, living out whatever comes next for the Bartlett-Fleming family. And CBC has confirmed the new season is coming to CBC and CBC Gem this fall, continuing a tradition that started all the way back in 2007. But here is where it gets complicated, because the last time we saw this family, they were not in a good place. They were in the middle of the most emotional cliffhanger this show has ever pulled off, and nobody has given us a real answer since. You remember exactly where we left off. Nathan Price standing in front of Amy, finally saying the words we all saw coming from a mile away, asking her to marry him. And Amy's face in that final moment told us everything and nothing at the same time. Her expression was frozen somewhere between shock, love, and something that looked a lot like fear. That episode was even titled Forgiveness, and if you think that title was chosen by accident, I don't believe that for a second. Because forgiveness is not just about Nathan. It is about Amy finally letting herself move forward without feeling like she is betraying everything she built with Ty. And that is exactly why this next season carries so much weight. Every single time Amy Fleming gets close to loving someone new, the entire fanbase does the same thing. We compare him to Ty. Not because we want to, because we cannot help it. For a lot of longtime viewers, Ty was never just a character Amy dated. He was the standard. He was the person this show spent years building into the emotional backbone of Amy's entire story. And losing him the way we did left a wound that this show has never fully closed. So when Nathan gets down on one knee, it does not just feel romantic. Feels like a test. A test of whether this family and this audience is finally ready to let Amy be happy again without it feeling like a betrayal of everything that came before. And here is the part that should genuinely worry you. If Heartland puts Amy and Nathan together permanently, the show has to directly deal with what that means for Ty's memory, out loud on screen, in front of all of us. But if the writers hold back again, if they hesitate one more season, then Amy's entire arc risks getting stuck in the same grief loop we have already watched her live through for years. There is no safe option here. Whichever direction season 20 goes, someone is getting their heart broken, and it might be ours. Meanwhile, the real-world context makes this even heavier. Amber Marshall, the woman who has lived inside Amy Fleming's life for almost 20 years, has spoken about what these seasons mean to her, describing letters from families who say the show gave them something wholesome to hold on to together. That is not the language of someone treating this season like just another episode order. That is the language of someone who understands the weight sitting on her shoulders right now. Walking back onto that ranch knowing this could be one of the most pivotal chapters this family has ever lived through. And if you think that is where the emotional stakes stop, you are wrong, because there is a second storyline quietly forming in the background right now, one involving a brand new face on that ranch, and what he could mean for the next generation of this family is something almost nobody saw coming. Let's talk about the new face nobody was ready for. Word is spreading fast through the fan community that a new character is joining the ranch this season, and the actor stepping into that role is Everett Andre. We do not have full details on who this character actually is yet, but the timing of his arrival is what makes this so interesting, because it lines up perfectly with a storyline that was already quietly building throughout last season. If you were watching closely, you noticed it too. Dex arrived on Heartland and almost instantly became one of the most talked about new additions the show has introduced in years, and the romance forming between Dex and River felt like it was heading somewhere real. But then something shifted. Katie started looking at Dex a little differently, And if you think that was just friendly energy, I don't buy that for a second. That is the exact setup for a love triangle. And now, with a brand new character stepping into the picture, there is a very real chance he becomes the wild card that changes everything. If Dex and River do not make it, Katie may not be far behind when it comes to falling for whoever this new arrival turns out to be. And honestly, watching this play out feels like watching history repeat itself, because longtime fans know exactly what this reminds them of. This is the same emotional pattern we watched unfold years ago with Amy, Ty, and Ashley, and if the writers are leaning into that kind of nostalgia on purpose, it means they know exactly what they are doing to us. But while the younger generation is stealing headlines, there is something happening with Grandpa Jack that deserves just as much of your attention, maybe more. After everything that man went through in season 19, his health has become one of the quiet, aching concerns sitting underneath every episode. Watching Jack grow older on screen does something strange to people who have followed this family for 20 years. Stops feeling like fiction. It starts feeling like watching someone in your own life get older in real time, and that is exactly why this storyline hits so much harder than anything involving romance or ranch drama. As Jack's responsibilities became heavier to carry, Lou stepped up in ways we had never really seen from her before, and watching that shift happen between grandfather and granddaughter told us something important. This family is preparing us for change whether we are ready for it or not. And Lou's arc did not stop there. Her struggle with burnout last season peeled back a side of her character we rarely get to see. The side that is tired, stretched thin, and quietly breaking under the weight of holding everyone else together. That vulnerability is exactly what made her eventual reconnection with Peter feel so earned instead of convenient. It was not a twist for the sake of drama. It was a woman finally admitting she cannot carry everything alone. And if you have ever felt that way in your own life, that storyline probably hit you somewhere real. Then there is Georgie. Her return to Heartland after barely appearing since season 15 was one of the most emotional moments the show has delivered in years. And it did not come easy. What we got instead was one final devastating goodbye between Georgie and Phoenix, a farewell built to make you cry before you even realized it was happening. Reports now suggest Georgie's path may be taking her even further away, with talk of a possible move overseas as her story continues to expand outside the ranch. If that is true, a full-time return to Heartland for her in season 20 feels increasingly unlikely, though a guest appearance is still very much on the table, and honestly, that might hurt even more. A brief return means a brief goodbye all over again. And we cannot ignore the elephant standing in the middle of this entire ranch. Tim. He was completely absent for all of season 19. Not a single episode, and that decision reshaped the entire family dynamic, forcing Jack and Lou to carry storylines that used to belong to him. According to the cast themselves, filming without Tim was not easy. Michelle Morgan has openly admitted it felt like being thrown into the deep end, both as an actress adjusting to a missing scene partner and as Lou, a character now forced to hold up a ranch that suddenly had one less pillar supporting it. Whether that absence continues into season 20 or gets addressed head-on is still unknown. But either way, it tells us something important. This show is not afraid to remove the ground from underneath its own characters, and if it is willing to do that to Tim, nobody on that ranch is safe from what comes next, including the people we least expect. Now we get to the question sitting underneath everything else, the one fans have been quietly asking in the comment sections for months. Could season 20 actually be Heartland's final chapter? Nothing has been officially confirmed anywhere, not by CBC, not by the cast, not by anyone connected to this show. But once you start pulling the threads together, it becomes harder and harder to dismiss the idea. 20 seasons is already an almost unheard of milestone for a family drama. Add in Jack's declining health being treated as a real, ongoing storyline instead of a background detail. Add in Georgie's story pulling her further away from the ranch. Add in Tim's mysterious absence reshaping the entire family structure, and you start to see a show that might be quietly preparing its audience for an ending, even if nobody involved is ready to say those words out loud yet. And if Jack's health storyline is being built the way it appears to be built, there is a very real, very painful possibility sitting on the table. The idea that this family and this audience may eventually have to say goodbye to the man who held this entire ranch together from episode 1. That is not something I say lightly, and it is not something this fanbase takes lightly either. For a lot of us, Jack Bartlett has never just been a character. He has been the steady, stubborn heart of this entire show. the one constant through 20 years of loss, love, and everything in between. If season 20 is building toward losing him, it will not just be a plot twist. It will feel like losing someone from our own family, and that is exactly the kind of gut punch this show has never been afraid to deliver. At the same time, there is a smaller detail that has quietly frustrated longtime fans for years, and it deserves to be said honestly. Ever since season 16, the show has settled into a shorter, 10-episode format, and that reduced episode count has become one of the most consistent disappointments among people who remember when a single season used to give us double that amount of story. Fewer episodes means fewer quiet moments, fewer slow character beats, fewer of those small conversations on the porch that used to make this show feel like more than just a drama. It means less time with this family, and after 20 years of loving them, less time is the last thing any of us actually want. And yet, even knowing we might only get 10 episodes instead of 20, most of us would still show up for every single one. Because that is what real loyalty looks like. It is not about episode counts. It is about a family we have watched grow up, fall apart, and rebuild itself again and again, and somehow still choosing to come back to us every single fall since 2007. So here is where we actually stand. Heartland Season 20 is confirmed. CBC has locked in a fall 2026 release on CBC and CBC Gem. Filming is happening right now in Alberta. Amber Marshall is back. The Fleming Bartlett family is coming home one more time. But underneath all of that confirmation sits a season loaded with more uncertainty than almost anything this show has ever attempted. Will Amy finally say yes to Nathan? Or will Ty's memory hold her back one more time? Will Katie, Dex, and this mysterious new arrival tear open a love triangle nobody is emotionally prepared for? Will Georgie's goodbye to Phoenix turn out to be the last time we ever see them together? And is Grandpa Jack's health quietly writing the final chapter of a story that started 20 years ago?